There are moments in the entertainment industry when success can no longer be measured by a single chart, a trophy, or a headline. Somewhere between sold-out stadiums, billions of digital streams, luxury brand empires, and the relentless attention of a global audience, a different story begins to emerge, one that is far more complex than the numbers suggest. In 2026, the race to become the most successful K-pop solo artist has evolved into a silent battle fought across continents, where every release, every public appearance, and every career decision leaves behind traces that analysts, industry insiders, and millions of fans attempt to decode. Official records reveal astonishing achievements, yet they rarely capture the full picture. Behind every milestone lies a web of strategic decisions, cultural influence, commercial power, and public perception that often sparks intense debate. Some artists dominate streaming platforms, while others reshape the luxury fashion industry. Some command unprecedented concert demand, while others quietly build influence that extends far beyond music itself. The deeper the evidence is examined, the more difficult it becomes to determine who truly stands above everyone else. What appears obvious at first glance often becomes increasingly uncertain as new data surfaces and global trends continue to shift. Tonight, K-Pop Fact Today examines 7 of the most influential solo artists whose impact has defined the global K-pop landscape in 2026. Their journeys reveal extraordinary achievements, unexpected turning points, and rankings that continue to divide fans and industry observers alike. As the countdown unfolds, one question grows impossible to ignore. When every statistic tells a different story, who can truly claim the title of the world's most successful K-pop solo artist?
Position number 7. Lisa, Blackpink.
As the first light of morning stretches across Seoul's financial district, giant digital billboards begin cycling through advertisements that feature familiar faces. Luxury fashion campaigns fade into global music promotions before being replaced by cosmetics, jewelry, and technology endorsements. Among these carefully curated images, one figure appears with remarkable consistency. Long before fans gather outside concert venues or streaming platforms refresh their daily rankings, Lisa's influence is already visible in places where the music industry intersects with international business. By 2026, her name represents far more than a successful K-pop idol. It has become a recognizable global brand whose reach extends across multiple industries, making every career move the subject of intense scrutiny. Yet, despite her undeniable visibility, determining exactly where Lisa stands among the world's most successful solo artists has become increasingly complicated. Official records document extraordinary commercial achievements, while market analysis continue debating whether her greatest strength lies in music, fashion, or the rare ability to dominate both simultaneously. The deeper observers examine her career, the more difficult it becomes to separate artistic success from commercial influence. That uncertainty is precisely what makes her position one of the most fascinating stories in contemporary K-pop. Following Blackpink's evolution into one of the most recognized girl groups in history, Lisa gradually established an identity capable of standing independently from the group's collective achievements. Her solo releases demonstrated that massive global anticipation could translate into exceptional commercial performance, while her choreography, stage presence, and instantly recognizable performance style continued attracting audiences across continents. Official chart records show impressive streaming figures and international demand, but those numbers alone fail to explain why discussions surrounding Lisa remain so persistent. Industry observers frequently point toward another factor: her unmatched ability to maintain cultural relevance beyond album release cycles. Unlike many artists whose visibility fluctuates between musical projects, Lisa's presence remains constant through collaborations with internationally recognized luxury houses, global ambassador roles, magazine covers, fashion weeks, and digital campaigns that collectively reinforce her image throughout the year. Various market analyses have suggested that this consistency significantly increases her commercial value, although the precise contribution of endorsement activity versus musical performance remains widely debated. Financial analysts often describe her career as an example of diversified entertainment influence rather than traditional music success alone. This distinction has generated considerable discussion among fans and commentators alike. Some argue that success should primarily be measured through musical achievements, such as album sales, streaming performance, touring, and chart longevity. Others believe modern entertainment has fundamentally changed, making global brand influence an equally important indicator of an artist's overall impact. Lisa frequently becomes the center of this debate because few performers possess comparable visibility across so many international markets simultaneously. Throughout 2026, every major public appearance continued generating enormous online engagement, reinforcing the perception that her popularity extends well beyond conventional fan communities. Social media analytics repeatedly highlighted remarkable interaction levels whenever new campaigns, performances, or collaborations were announced. Nevertheless, several researchers studying digital engagement caution against interpreting viral attention as definitive evidence of artistic dominance. Public interest, they argue, often reflects broader cultural conversations rather than direct musical consumption. Official statistics, therefore, reveal only part of a much larger narrative. Another layer emerges when examining Lisa's international appeal. While numerous K-pop soloists maintain exceptionally strong domestic support or regional popularity, Lisa's audience has consistently demonstrated extraordinary geographic diversity. Concert demand, merchandise sales, streaming distribution, and media coverage indicate influence spanning Asia, Europe, North America, and numerous emerging entertainment markets. This global reach has strengthened her reputation as one of K-pop's most internationally recognizable figures. Yet even this observation introduces another unresolved question. Does worldwide recognition necessarily translate into the highest level of solo career success, or should artistic achievements remain the primary benchmark? Industry specialists continue offering different interpretations depending on which indicators they prioritize. Some emphasize measurable commercial outcomes, while others highlight artistic development, songwriting involvement, creative direction, and long-term cultural legacy. Lisa's career intersects with each of these perspectives without fitting neatly into any single category. Her performances consistently display technical precision and commanding charisma, characteristics frequently cited by performance directors and choreographers as defining strengths. At the same time, critics occasionally question whether commercial visibility sometimes overshadows discussion of her musical evolution. Such observations do not diminish her accomplishments, but instead illustrate how exceptionally high public expectations have become. Every release is compared not only against her previous work, but against the entire contemporary K-pop industry. Few artists operate under similar levels of constant comparison. Various discussions circulating within entertainment communities throughout 2026 also suggest that Lisa's influence extends into broader conversations about globalization within K-pop itself. Her multicultural background, multilingual communication skills, and international accessibility have positioned her as one of the industry's most recognizable ambassadors beyond Korea. Many analysts consider this an essential factor behind her remarkable longevity, while others argue that global accessibility alone cannot determine artistic ranking. Official records acknowledge her achievements, but the broader interpretation of those achievements continues evolving as new milestones emerge across the industry. As this countdown begins, Lisa occupies the 7th position, not because her accomplishments are limited, but because the competition above her reflects an extraordinarily narrow margin, separating some of the most influential solo artists of their generation. Every statistic, every commercial partnership, every streaming milestone, and every public appearance contributes another piece to an increasingly complex puzzle that refuses to produce a universally accepted answer.
Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Lisa's career is not whether she has achieved global success. Few seriously dispute that conclusion, but whether history will ultimately remember her primarily as one of K-pop's greatest performers, one of its most powerful global brands, or as something that transcends both definitions entirely. As the evidence continues to accumulate and the debate grows even louder, one question remains suspended over the industry. Has the full extent of Lisa's legacy truly been measured, or are the most significant chapters of her solo career still waiting to unfold?
Position number 6, Hanyeon, Stray Kids. As twilight settles over Seoul and the city's skyline gradually transforms into a sea of illuminated glass towers, another kind of light begins to dominate the digital landscape. Massive LED screens replay music videos, fashion campaigns circulate across social media feeds, and millions of notifications announce another milestone achieved by one of K-pop's most recognizable performers. In 2026, Hanyeon's name rarely disappears from global conversations for long. Whether appearing on the stage before tens of thousands of fans, representing internationally renowned luxury brands, or unveiling a new artistic project, his presence consistently commands extraordinary attention. Yet beneath the overwhelming visibility lies a far more intriguing question that continues to divide both industry observers and longtime fans. How does one measure the true success of an artist whose influence extends far beyond music alone? Official records confirm impressive achievements across multiple categories, but the deeper analysts examine Hanyeon's career, the more complex the answer becomes. Some regard him as one of the defining performers of his generation, while others argue that his greatest contribution lies in reshaping the image of the modern K-pop solo artist. Between measurable statistics and public perception exists a space filled with interpretation, speculation, and constantly evolving expectations. Hanyeon's journey toward becoming one of the most influential solo figures in K-pop did not happen overnight. His reputation was built through years of consistently refining his performance abilities within Stray Kids, a group widely recognized for its demanding choreography, experimental musical direction, and rapidly expanding international audience. As global attention surrounding the group intensified, Hanyeon gradually emerged as one of its most recognizable faces. His expressive stage presence, technical precision, and distinctive visual identity attracted widespread admiration, creating an individual brand capable of attracting audiences even beyond the group's existing fanbase. Official audience engagement reports repeatedly demonstrated remarkable levels of interaction whenever Hanyeon released solo performances, dance projects, or visual collaborations. Yet, despite these measurable accomplishments, experts often caution against reducing artistic influence to numbers alone. They argue that some of the most significant aspects of Hanyeon's popularity cannot be fully represented through charts or streaming statistics. Industry commentators frequently identify performance artistry as the defining characteristic of Hanyeon's career. Rather than relying solely on vocal ability or commercial appeal, he has consistently demonstrated an unusual capacity to communicate emotion through movement. Dance professionals have often highlighted his ability to merge technical accuracy with expressive storytelling, transforming choreography into something resembling visual narrative rather than simple entertainment. This quality has become particularly significant in an era where short-form digital content allows individual performances to circulate globally within minutes. Official engagement data consistently reveal that Hanyeon's dance-focused releases generate extraordinary discussion across multiple international platforms. Yet analysts also acknowledge that viral popularity does not necessarily reflect long-term artistic influence. Trends emerge rapidly, but lasting cultural impact requires sustained relevance over many years. Whether Hanyeon's current trajectory represents temporary momentum or the foundation of an enduring legacy remains an active subject of discussion. Another dimension of Hanyeon's success appears outside traditional music markets.
Throughout 2026, his continued association with internationally recognized luxury fashion houses has reinforced his reputation as a global cultural figure rather than merely a successful musician. Fashion analysts frequently describe him as one of the industry's most influential ambassadors, capable of generating substantial public attention whenever he appears at major international events. Official marketing observations suggest collaborations involving Hanyin consistently receive exceptional digital engagement, strengthening his commercial value across industries. Nevertheless, this crossover success has also generated ongoing debate. Some observers believe fashion partnerships demonstrate an artist's expanding global influence, while others maintain musical achievement should remain the primary standard when evaluating solo careers. Neither perspective has produced universal agreement, leaving Hanyin positioned at the center of one of K-pop's most persistent discussions. Critics examining the broader entertainment landscape often point toward another remarkable aspect of Hanyin's career: adaptability. Throughout an industry characterized by rapidly changing trends, evolving audience expectations, and intense international competition, maintaining relevance has become increasingly difficult. Yet Hanyin has repeatedly demonstrated an ability to evolve without abandoning the artistic identity that initially attracted widespread attention. His performances continue incorporating fresh visual concepts while preserving the expressive style that has become synonymous with his name. According to several entertainment analysts, this balance between innovation and consistency represents one of the strongest indicators of sustainable long-term success. Still, official records cannot fully explain why audiences remain emotionally invested in his work. Statistics measure consumption, but they rarely measure connection. Various discussions circulating throughout entertainment communities in 2026 also highlight Hanyin's growing influence among younger performers. Choreographers, trainees, and aspiring idols frequently reference his stage presence and performance style as a source of inspiration. While such observations remain difficult to quantify, they suggest an influence extending beyond immediate commercial achievements. Cultural researchers often describe this phenomenon as legacy formation, where an artist's impact begins shaping future generations rather than merely attracting current audiences. However, because this influence develops gradually over time, definitive conclusions remain premature. Official documentation acknowledges increasing recognition, but the full extent of Hanyin's long-term contribution to K-pop performance culture has yet to be determined. Despite remarkable accomplishments, Hanyin's career has never been entirely free from public scrutiny. Like many globally recognized artists, periods of intense attention have inevitably been accompanied by criticism, speculation, and conflicting interpretations surrounding various moments of his public life. Official statements and documented events provide important context, yet public conversations often extend beyond verifiable information. Analysts regularly remind audiences that sustained careers in global entertainment require not only talent, but also resilience under continuous observation. Hanyin's continued prominence suggests an ability to navigate this demanding environment while maintaining professional momentum, though opinions regarding the significance of that achievement naturally differ. Positioning Hanyin at number 6 does not diminish the extraordinary scale of his accomplishments. On the contrary, it reflects the exceptionally competitive landscape occupied by some of K-pop's most influential solo artists in 2026. Every streaming milestone, sold-out performance, fashion collaboration, and international appearance contributes another layer to an increasingly complex portrait of success. Yet each new achievement also introduces additional questions. Is Hanyin's greatest strength his remarkable artistry as a performer, his extraordinary commercial influence beyond music, or his ability to unite both worlds into a career like never before? As new records continue to emerge and the industry evolves at an unprecedented pace, perhaps the most compelling mystery is not how successful Hanyin has already become, but whether the chapter the world has witnessed so far is only the beginning of a legacy that has yet to reach its true peak.
Position number 5. IU. As dawn slowly breaks over the Han River, the silence of the city is interrupted not by headlines or viral controversies, but by familiar melodies echoing through cafes, taxis, office buildings, and countless playlists that have remained unchanged for years. While newer artists compete for the attention of rapidly shifting algorithms, one voice continues to occupy a rare position within South Korea's cultural identity. By 2026, IU is no longer viewed merely as a successful solo singer. She has become an institution whose influence stretches across music, television, film, advertising, and public life. Yet the very scale of that influence has created one of the most fascinating debates in modern K-pop. Can longevity outweigh explosive global popularity? Does consistent excellence over more than a decade represent a greater achievement than breaking records within only a few years? Official industry reports acknowledge IU as one of Korea's most accomplished entertainers, but determining where she belongs among the world's most successful K-pop solo artists has become a far more complicated question than many expected. The closer analysts examine her career, the more they discover that her success cannot be explained by numbers alone. Unlike many artists whose careers are defined by spectacular peaks followed by inevitable decline, IU has demonstrated something considerably rarer: sustained relevance across multiple generations of audiences. Official chart histories reveal a remarkable pattern of commercial consistency, with songs continuing to dominate domestic streaming platforms years after their original release. Industry observers frequently point to this phenomenon as evidence that IU's popularity is rooted in public trust rather than temporary trends. New artists emerge every year, social media platforms evolve, and listening habits continue to change. Yet her releases consistently attract extraordinary attention from audiences spanning teenagers to older generations. Entertainment researchers often describe this level of cross-generational appeal as one of the most difficult achievements in the music industry. While viral success can be manufactured through aggressive promotion, enduring public affection cannot easily be replicated. That distinction has become one of the strongest arguments supporting IU's remarkable standing in 2026. Music critics frequently emphasize another aspect separating her from many of her contemporaries: artistic credibility. Throughout her career, she has become increasingly involved in songwriting, composition, and the creative direction behind her projects. Official album credits consistently reflect this participation, strengthening her reputation not only as a performer, but also as a storyteller, capable of translating personal experiences into universally relatable narratives. Analysts argue that this creative involvement has contributed significantly to the emotional connection listeners feel toward her music. Rather than simply performing material selected by others, IU gradually established herself as an artist whose identity is inseparable from the songs she creates. This perception has elevated her status beyond commercial success, positioning her as one of the defining musical voices of her generation. Nevertheless, various discussions continue regarding whether artistic authenticity should carry greater weight than international commercial dominance when ranking solo careers. Outside the recording studio, IU's influence has expanded into nearly every major sector of South Korea's entertainment industry. Her acting performances have received widespread recognition, introducing her to audiences who may not initially have followed her musical career. Official viewership statistics and critical responses demonstrate that several of her television and film projects achieved significant success, reinforcing her reputation as a multifaceted entertainer capable of excelling across different creative disciplines. Marketing analysts have frequently observed that this versatility substantially increases her commercial value. Luxury brands, technology companies, financial institutions, and consumer product manufacturers have repeatedly selected IU as their ambassador, citing her reputation for professionalism, credibility, and broad public appeal.
Unlike artists whose endorsement opportunities fluctuate according to trends, IU's partnerships often reflect long-term confidence in her image. However, some experts caution against allowing commercial influence to overshadow the primary focus of artistic achievement, reminding observers that brand reputation and musical accomplishment, while interconnected, remain distinct measurements. Perhaps the most intriguing element of IU's career lies in her extraordinary relationship with the Korean public. Entertainment historians often note that public sentiment can be unpredictable, capable of transforming dramatically within only a few years. Yet official surveys, media analysis, and long-term popularity indicators consistently place IU among the nation's most respected public figures. This stability has become increasingly unusual within an industry characterized by rapid change and intense competition. Sociologists studying celebrity culture have suggested that her enduring popularity reflects more than successful marketing. Instead, it may represent a deeper sense of familiarity and trust, cultivated through years of carefully managed public appearances, artistic sincerity, and professional consistency. Nevertheless, such interpretations remain subject to debate, as emotional connection cannot be measured with the same precision as album sales or streaming figures. Internationally, IU presents another fascinating case study. Although her international recognition has continued expanding throughout the 2020s, analysts frequently acknowledge that her strongest influence remains concentrated within South Korea and several neighboring Asian markets. This reality has generated considerable discussion among entertainment experts attempting to compare artists with fundamentally different career trajectories. Some argue that worldwide visibility should serve as the defining benchmark for modern success, particularly within an increasingly globalized K-pop industry. Others maintain that dominating one of the world's most competitive domestic entertainment markets for more than a decade represents an equally extraordinary accomplishment. Official records provide evidence supporting both perspectives, leaving the debate unresolved. Success, it appears, may depend as much upon the criteria selected as upon the achievements themselves. Throughout 2026, every new project involving IU continued attracting exceptional attention despite the arrival of younger performers and evolving musical trends. Critics frequently describe this phenomenon as evidence of cultural permanence rather than temporary popularity. Her concerts continue drawing immense audiences, her music consistently re-enters streaming charts, and her public appearances remain major media events. Yet even these impressive accomplishments cannot fully explain the enduring fascination surrounding her career. Analysts increasingly suggest that IU has become something beyond a conventional pop star. She represents continuity within an industry defined by constant reinvention, proving that artistic maturity and commercial success need not exist in opposition. Even so, the question remains whether such longevity should outweigh the explosive international expansion achieved by other contemporary solo artists. Positioned at number 5, IU stands as one of the most respected and influential figures in modern Korean entertainment. Her placement reflects not a limitation of achievement, but the extraordinary level of competition among artists whose careers have reshaped the global perception of K-pop. Every chart record, acting performance, songwriting credit, endorsement campaign, and sold-out concert contributes another chapter to a legacy that continues growing with remarkable consistency. Yet perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding IU is not how much she has already accomplished, but how history will ultimately define her influence. Was she simply one of Korea's greatest solo artists, or will future generations recognize her as the benchmark against which every successful solo career is measured? As new stars continue rising and industry standards evolve, that question remains unanswered, quietly waiting for time itself to deliver the final verdict.
Position number 4, Felix, Stray Kids. As night falls across the world's largest cities, from Seoul and Tokyo to Los Angeles, Paris, and Sydney, millions of screens illuminate almost simultaneously. Concert clips begin trending within minutes, luxury fashion photographs circulate across social media, and fan communities analyze every public appearance with remarkable precision. Amid this endless stream of digital activity, one unmistakable voice repeatedly captures global attention before audiences even recognize the face behind it. Deep, resonant, and instantly identifiable, Felix has transformed one of his most distinctive natural characteristics into an artistic signature recognized far beyond the boundaries of K-pop. Yet, by 2026, the discussion surrounding his solo success extends well beyond vocal uniqueness. Official records document extraordinary international popularity, rapidly expanding commercial influence, and an ever-growing presence across entertainment industries. Still, a far more complex question continues to divide industry observers. Has Felix become one of the world's most successful solo artists because of his exceptional individuality, or has he achieved something even more significant, a level of cultural influence that transcends music itself? The deeper analysts investigate the evidence, the less straightforward the answer becomes. Felix's rise as an internationally recognized solo figure did not follow the conventional blueprint associated with many successful K-pop artists. While his journey began within Stray Kids, whose global expansion accelerated dramatically throughout the decade, his individual identity developed through a combination of characteristics rarely found in a single performer. Official audience research consistently highlights his extraordinary ability to attract attention across diverse demographics. Some fans first discovered him through his commanding stage performances, while others became captivated by his distinctive speaking voice, multilingual communication, visual image, or approachable public personality. Marketing specialists frequently describe this combination as exceptionally valuable because it allows an artist to connect with audiences through multiple entry points, rather than relying exclusively on musical releases. However, several entertainment analysts caution that broad visibility alone cannot fully explain long-term success. Lasting influence requires sustained artistic credibility, consistent public engagement, and the ability to evolve without losing authenticity. According to official observations throughout 2026, Felix appears to satisfy many of these demanding conditions. Performance experts often identify versatility as one of Felix's defining strengths. On stage, he demonstrates the precision expected of a leading K-pop performer, seamlessly combining choreography, vocal delivery, and commanding stage presence. Yet, unlike many performers whose appeal depends primarily on technical execution, Felix has repeatedly displayed an ability to create memorable moments through subtle emotional expression. Concert reviews frequently emphasize how audiences respond not merely to choreography or production value, but to his capacity for transforming individual performances into emotionally resonant experiences. Such observations remain inherently subjective, yet their consistency across multiple international reviews suggests a pattern difficult to dismiss. Official concert attendance figures and audience engagement metrics further reinforce this perception, indicating that Felix has become one of the most anticipated performers whenever solo stages or special collaborations are announced. Nevertheless, experts continue debating whether exceptional live performance should outweigh achievements measured through album sales, streaming numbers, or songwriting contributions when evaluating overall solo success. Outside the concert arena, Felix's commercial influence has expanded with remarkable speed. Throughout 2026, international luxury brands, fashion houses, and lifestyle companies have continued seeking partnerships with artists capable of reaching global audiences across multiple cultural markets. Official campaign announcements repeatedly feature Felix among this select group, reflecting growing confidence in his worldwide appeal.
Fashion commentators frequently note that his visual identity possesses unusual flexibility, allowing him to move effortlessly between high-fashion editorials, commercial advertising, and entertainment projects without appearing disconnected from any of them. This adaptability has significantly increased his value within industries extending far beyond music. However, financial analysts regularly emphasize that commercial partnerships should be interpreted carefully. Endorsement activity undoubtedly reflects public influence, yet determining precisely how much such collaborations contribute to an artist's overall legacy remains an ongoing subject of professional debate. Perhaps the most fascinating dimension of Felix's career lies in his international accessibility. As K-pop continues strengthening its position within the global entertainment market, artists capable of communicating naturally across linguistic and cultural boundaries occupy an increasingly advantageous position. Felix's background and multilingual communication skills have enabled him to connect with audiences throughout Asia, Oceania, Europe, and North America with remarkable ease. Official engagement reports consistently indicate strong international participation whenever he appears in interviews, promotional campaigns, or live broadcasts. Cultural researchers frequently argue that this accessibility has become one of the defining characteristics of modern global entertainers. Yet others caution against assuming international familiarity automatically translates to artistic superiority. Visibility creates opportunity, but enduring legacy depends on how those opportunities are ultimately transformed into meaningful creative contributions. Music industry observers also point toward another increasingly important aspect of Felix's solo development: personal branding. Unlike promotional strategies built solely around popularity, Felix's public image has remained notably consistent despite rapid career expansion. Official media appearances reveal a carefully balanced combination of professionalism, humility, confidence, and authenticity that continues resonating with audiences across different age groups. Reputation analysts often describe this stability as one of the strongest foundations for long-term career sustainability. In an industry where public perception can change rapidly, maintaining trust has become almost as valuable as achieving commercial success itself. Even so, public image remains one of the most difficult elements to evaluate objectively. While official surveys and engagement statistics provide measurable indicators, emotional connection ultimately exists beyond numerical analysis. Another subject frequently discussed among entertainment specialists concerns Felix's influence on younger generations of performers. Dance instructors, trainees, stylists, and creative directors increasingly reference his stage presence, fashion choices, and performance philosophy as examples of contemporary K-pop excellence. Although such influence remains challenging to quantify, cultural historians often argue that inspiring future artists represents one of the clearest indicators of lasting significance. Official documentation may record album certifications and streaming milestones, but the decision of future performers to emulate certain artistic qualities often reveals a different kind of legacy, one that unfolds gradually over decades rather than months. Whether Felix has already entered that stage of cultural influence remains open to interpretation, but evidence supporting the possibility continues accumulating. Positioned at number 4, Felix represents an artist whose success extends beyond conventional industry measurements. His remarkable international popularity, distinctive artistic identity, expanding commercial influence, and sustained audience connection collectively establish one of the strongest solo careers in contemporary K-pop. Yet every accomplishment simultaneously introduces another layer of uncertainty. Is Felix's greatest achievement the extraordinary career already visible to the world, or is it his apparent ability to redefine what global success can look like for the next generation of K-pop solo artists? As official records continue growing and international recognition reaches even greater heights, one mystery refuses to disappear. Has the entertainment industry already witnessed the peak of Felix's influence, or is history quietly preparing to reveal that his most extraordinary accomplishments have yet to arrive?
Position number 3. Taehyung, BTS. As the final hours before sunrise quietly unfold across Seoul, a strange pattern begins to emerge within the digital world. Streaming platforms experience sudden surges of activity, social media timelines become flooded with newly resurfaced performances, and luxury fashion publications release carefully curated images that instantly dominate international headlines. At first glance, these events appear unrelated, scattered across different industries and continents, yet closer examination repeatedly leads to the same name. By 2026, Kim Taehyung, known globally as V of BTS, has become one of the most compelling examples of how influence can transcend conventional measurements of celebrity. Official records document extraordinary streaming milestones, remarkable commercial partnerships, and sustained global popularity, but they reveal only part of a much larger narrative. Behind every chart position and endorsement announcement lies a phenomenon that analysts continue struggling to define. Is Taehyung's success primarily the result of exceptional artistic ability, or has he cultivated a level of cultural influence that no statistical report can fully capture? The evidence appears convincing from every angle, yet the conclusion remains surprisingly elusive. Unlike many artists whose careers are built upon constant public exposure, Taehyung has often demonstrated that strategic absence can generate as much attention as continuous visibility. Entertainment analysts have repeatedly noted that periods of relative silence surrounding his individual activities rarely diminish public interest. Instead, anticipation often intensifies, transforming every confirmed appearance into a significant global event. Official engagement reports throughout 2026 consistently indicate remarkable audience interaction whenever new music, interviews, fashion campaigns, or live performances are announced. Marketing specialists frequently describe this phenomenon as sustained demand rather than temporary popularity. While viral trends generally fade within days or weeks, Taehyung's influence has continued demonstrating unusual resilience despite rapidly changing entertainment cycles. Nevertheless, several researchers caution against interpreting digital engagement as definitive proof of artistic supremacy. Public fascination reflects one dimension of success, but true legacy often depends upon factors extending far beyond measurable online activity. Music critics frequently identify Taehyung's vocal identity as one of the defining elements separating him from his contemporaries. His deep, warm tone has consistently distinguished his performances within BTS, while simultaneously providing a unique foundation for his solo career. Official reviews published across multiple international media outlets often emphasize his ability to communicate emotional complexity through subtle vocal expression rather than technical power alone. Industry professionals have suggested that this characteristic enables his recordings to retain emotional resonance long after their initial release. Unlike songs designed primarily for immediate commercial impact, many of Taehyung's solo works have been praised for encouraging repeated listening through atmosphere, storytelling, and carefully controlled vocal delivery. Such observations remain inherently interpretive, yet their consistency across critical evaluations has strengthened his reputation as one of the most artistically distinctive solo performers in contemporary K-pop. Another significant factor contributing to Taehyung's remarkable standing in 2026 involves his influence within the global fashion industry. Long before each major fashion season begins, speculation surrounding his potential appearances often dominate international media coverage. Official partnerships with internationally recognized luxury houses have consistently demonstrated extraordinary commercial value, with fashion analysts frequently observing immediate increases in public attention following campaign releases or event participation. Some specialists argue that Taehyung possesses an exceptionally rare ability to elevate luxury branding through authenticity rather than conventional endorsement strategies. Instead of appearing merely as a celebrity representative, he often becomes closely associated with the artistic identity of the brands themselves.
Nevertheless, marketing researchers emphasize that commercial prestige should not automatically be interpreted as evidence of musical superiority. While luxury partnerships undoubtedly strengthen an artist's public profile, determining their appropriate weight within broader evaluations of solo success remains an ongoing subject of professional discussion. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Taehyung's career lies in his ability to maintain an air of mystery despite existing under constant international observation. In an era dominated by continuous digital exposure, many public figures gradually become predictable through endless online interaction. Taehyung, however, has consistently retained an element of unpredictability that continues captivating audiences worldwide. Cultural analysts frequently suggest that this carefully preserved sense of distance enhances public fascination by allowing listeners and viewers to project their own interpretations onto his artistic image. Various discussions circulating throughout entertainment communities describe this phenomenon as one of the defining reasons behind his enduring appeal. Official documentation confirms extraordinary popularity, yet no measurable statistic fully explains why anticipation surrounding his activities remains consistently elevated even during relatively quiet periods of his career. Throughout 2026, Taehyung's solo achievements have continued strengthening his international reputation. Streaming platforms have documented impressive listening figures, while concert appearances, collaborative projects, and media coverage collectively reinforce his status as one of the industry's most influential figures. However, industry observers often highlight another characteristic that distinguishes his career from many of his peers: artistic consistency. Rather than pursuing every emerging commercial trend, Taehyung has frequently demonstrated a willingness to prioritize creative identity over immediate market expectations. Music historians argue that such decisions often prove more significant over the course of decades than short-term commercial victories. Although official records primarily capture numerical achievements, the artistic choices shaping those achievements frequently determine how history ultimately evaluates an artist's legacy. Entertainment economists also point toward the remarkable breadth of Taehyung's commercial influence. Beyond music sales and streaming performance, his impact extends into luxury retail, publishing, tourism, and digital media engagement. Official market observations have repeatedly indicated substantial increases in consumer attention following his participation in major campaigns or public appearances. Yet researchers remain careful not to attribute every commercial outcome exclusively to individual influence, acknowledging that broader market conditions and collaborative branding strategies also contribute significantly. Such balanced interpretation has become increasingly important within an industry where extraordinary popularity can sometimes encourage exaggerated conclusions unsupported by objective evidence. Positioning Taehyung at number 3 reflects the extraordinary scale of his accomplishments rather than any limitation of his career. Official achievements, critical recognition, artistic individuality, and international influence collectively establish one of the strongest solo profiles in modern K-pop. Yet every impressive milestone simultaneously deepens the mystery surrounding his true legacy. Has Taehyung already demonstrated the full extent of his artistic influence, or do the records currently available represent only the visible surface of something far more enduring? As historians, analysts, and millions of listeners continue examining the evidence, one question remains impossible to ignore. When future generations attempt to define the artists who transformed K-pop into a permanent force in global culture, will Taehyung simply be remembered as one of its greatest stars, or as one of the rare figures whose influence could never be fully measured by numbers alone?
Position number 2, Rosé, Blackpink. As evening descends over cities separated by thousands of kilometers, an unmistakable pattern quietly begins to unfold. A newly released performance clip rapidly climbs trending pages across multiple continents. Radio stations in different languages add the same song to their rotations within hours. Fashion publications publish front-page editorials featuring the same artist, while streaming platforms record another surge of listeners arriving from countries that rarely move in unison. At first, these developments appear to be isolated moments driven by ordinary promotional cycles, yet official industry observations repeatedly reveal something far more unusual. By 2026, Rosé has become one of the few K-pop solo artists capable of generating simultaneous impact across music, fashion, and global popular culture without relying solely on the momentum of her group's legacy. Her achievements are no longer viewed merely as an extension of Blackpink's worldwide success. Instead, they have evolved into an independent phenomenon that continues attracting the attention of music executives, cultural analysts, and entertainment journalists searching for an explanation that remains surprisingly difficult to define. Official records document extraordinary commercial performance, remarkable international visibility, and sustained audience engagement. However, those measurable accomplishments only begin to explain why Rosé occupies one of the highest positions in this countdown. The deeper experts investigate her career, the clearer it becomes that her greatest strength may lie in qualities that statistics alone cannot fully measure. Unlike many performers whose careers depend heavily upon constant reinvention, Rosé has established an artistic identity built upon consistency and emotional authenticity. Music critics have frequently highlighted the distinctive character of her vocal tone, describing it as instantly recognizable even before audiences identify the song itself. Throughout 2026, this unique vocal identity has continued serving as one of the defining foundations of her solo career. Official streaming performance indicates remarkable listener retention across multiple releases, suggesting that audiences repeatedly return not only because of promotional visibility, but because of an enduring emotional connection with the music itself. Industry researchers often argue that such sustained engagement represents a stronger indicator of long-term artistic influence than short-lived viral success. Nevertheless, they also caution that listener loyalty remains inherently difficult to quantify. Charts reveal consumption, but they cannot fully explain why particular voices establish lasting emotional significance across generations of listeners. Another defining characteristic of Rosé's solo journey has been her willingness to emphasize musical expression over spectacle. While modern pop entertainment frequently rewards increasingly elaborate visual production, Rosé has consistently demonstrated that carefully crafted songwriting, intimate performances, and emotional vulnerability remain equally powerful. Official concert reviews and live performance analyses repeatedly praise her ability to create moments of genuine connection with audiences, regardless of venue size or production scale. Rather than overwhelming listeners through technical complexity alone, she often relies upon subtle interpretation and sincere vocal delivery. Performance specialists suggest that this approach has strengthened her artistic credibility, particularly among audiences seeking authenticity within an industry often associated with perfectionism. Even so, several analysts remind observers that artistic sincerity remains subjective. What resonates profoundly with one audience may be interpreted differently by another, making definitive comparisons between performers increasingly challenging. Commercially, Rosé has continued expanding her influence far beyond the recording studio. Throughout 2026, official announcements have confirmed her ongoing collaborations with internationally recognized luxury fashion houses and prestigious global brands. Fashion analysts consistently identify her as one of the industry's most influential ambassadors, noting that campaign launches involving Rosé frequently generate substantial international media attention. Yet, unlike many celebrity endorsements driven primarily by commercial visibility, observers often argue that her partnerships appear closely aligned with her established artistic identity. This perceived authenticity has become an important factor in maintaining long-term public trust. Marketing researchers have repeatedly emphasized that audiences increasingly distinguish between endorsements perceived as purely commercial and collaborations reflecting genuine compatibility.
Rosé's career appears to benefit significantly from this distinction, although determining its precise contribution to her overall success remains the subject of continuing professional debate. International influence represents another area where Rosé's career has demonstrated remarkable growth. Official engagement reports indicate strong audience participation across Asia, North America, Europe, Oceania, and numerous emerging entertainment markets. Unlike artists whose popularity remains concentrated within specific regions, Rosé has consistently maintained broad international appeal, supported by multilingual communication, global media exposure, and widespread cultural accessibility. Entertainment economists frequently point toward this geographic diversity as one of the strongest indicators of sustainable international relevance. However, they also acknowledge that global recognition introduces increasingly complex expectations. Global audiences often demand artistic evolution while simultaneously expecting performers to preserve the qualities that initially attracted public admiration. Successfully balancing these competing expectations has become one of the defining challenges facing internationally recognized artists, and Rosé's continued prominence suggests an unusual ability to navigate this demanding landscape. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of Rosé's career lies in the balance she maintains between commercial achievement and artistic identity. Industry historians often observe that many globally successful performers gradually become associated more strongly with their public image than with their creative work. Rosé, however, continues to inspire discussion centered upon her music as much as her celebrity status. Critics frequently note that her recordings retain a personal quality, uncommon within large-scale commercial entertainment, encouraging listeners to focus upon emotional storytelling rather than purely technical accomplishment. Such observations cannot be confirmed through official statistics alone, yet they appear consistent across professional reviews and audience commentary alike. Various discussions circulating throughout entertainment communities in 2026 further suggest that this emotional authenticity may ultimately become one of the defining characteristics of her long-term legacy. Another important dimension involves Rosé's influence on the evolving perception of female solo artists within the global music industry. Cultural researchers increasingly identify her career as an example of how K-pop performers can simultaneously achieve international commercial success while preserving individual artistic identity. Official records confirm impressive achievements across streaming, album performance, media visibility, and brand influence, yet analysts caution against interpreting these accomplishments in isolation. Success at this level rarely results from a single factor. Instead, it emerges through the gradual interaction of talent, timing, creative decision-making, audience trust, and sustained professional consistency over many years. Rosé's career appears to embody precisely this combination, making direct comparison with other contemporary artists particularly challenging. Positioned at number 2, Rosé stands among the most accomplished solo artists of the modern K-pop era. Her extraordinary vocal identity, international influence, artistic credibility, and commercial success collectively establish a career that few performers have managed to equal. Yet, even after examining official records, critical analysis, and global audience response, one fundamental mystery remains unresolved. Has Rosé already reached the defining peak of her remarkable solo journey, or is the world merely witnessing another chapter in a career whose greatest achievements have yet to be written? As the evidence continues accumulating and industry expectations continue evolving, only one position remains, and with it, the final question that has fueled debate across the global K-pop community throughout 2026.
Position number 1. Jungkook, BTS. As midnight passes East Asia, the global music industry enters one of its quietest hours. Recording studios begin to empty, financial markets close, and entertainment headlines gradually slow. Yet somewhere beyond the silence, millions of devices continue refreshing streaming platforms, video charts, and social media feeds with remarkable consistency.
Official listening statistics rise minute by minute, even when no major promotional campaign is underway. Songs released months or even years earlier continue attracting new audiences from countries separated by oceans, languages, and cultures. Entertainment analysts have observed this phenomenon repeatedly throughout 2026, and in countless reports, one conclusion appears again and again. Jungkook has reached a level of solo success that extends beyond the traditional boundaries of K-pop. What began as the remarkable journey of BTS's youngest member has evolved into one of the most closely studied careers in modern global entertainment. Official records reveal extraordinary commercial performance, unprecedented international visibility, and sustained public demand. Yet, despite the overwhelming amount of measurable evidence, perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Jungkook's success is not how many records he has broken, but why his influence continues expanding even after achieving milestones that many artists spend entire careers pursuing. The deeper researchers investigate the evidence, the more they discover that conventional explanations are no longer sufficient. Unlike many artists who rely upon constant promotional activity to maintain relevance, Jungkook has repeatedly demonstrated an unusual ability to remain at the center of public attention through the lasting appeal of his work itself. Official streaming platforms have consistently documented remarkable listener retention across multiple releases, indicating that audiences continue returning long after the initial excitement surrounding new music has faded. Industry specialists frequently describe this pattern as one of the strongest indicators of genuine global impact. Viral popularity produces spectacular numbers over a short period, but sustained consumption across months and years reflects something fundamentally different. According to several entertainment economists, long-term engagement represents one of the clearest signs that an artist has become embedded within the everyday listening habits of audiences, rather than temporary cultural conversations. Jungkook's catalog repeatedly demonstrates precisely this characteristic, strengthening arguments that his influence extends far beyond isolated commercial success. Music critics have also emphasized the extraordinary versatility defining his solo career. Throughout his artistic evolution, he has consistently demonstrated an ability to move between multiple musical styles without sacrificing his recognizable identity. Whether performing emotionally driven ballads, contemporary pop productions, rhythm-focused tracks, or internationally collaborative projects, official reviews frequently acknowledge his technical stability and vocal adaptability. Unlike performers whose strengths remain closely associated with a single genre, Jungkook has cultivated a reputation for versatility that enables him to reach audiences with vastly different musical preferences. Vocal professionals often identify his combination of technical precision, emotional control, and consistent live performance as one of the defining reasons behind his extraordinary international reputation. Nevertheless, analysts remain careful to distinguish artistic excellence from commercial achievement. Technical ability undoubtedly contributes to success, but the relationship between skill and worldwide influence remains far more complex than simple comparisons allow. Another defining element separating Jungkook from many contemporary solo artists lies in his unprecedented international accessibility. Throughout 2026, official global streaming reports, chart performances, and audience engagement statistics consistently reflected strong participation across North America, Europe, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, and numerous emerging music markets. Cultural researchers frequently note that relatively few artists manage to sustain comparable levels of worldwide attention without becoming heavily dependent upon a single geographic region. This broad international foundation has strengthened Jungkook's commercial resilience while simultaneously expanding his cultural significance.
Entertainment executives often describe his career as evidence that K-pop has entered a new stage of globalization, where language barriers increasingly diminish in importance compared to artistic authenticity and universal emotional communication. Even so, several scholars caution against assuming that global popularity automatically determines artistic legacy. While international recognition undoubtedly reflects extraordinary influence, history often evaluates artists through a broader collection of cultural, creative, and historical contributions. Commercial influence provides another compelling layer within Jungkook's remarkable career. Beyond music sales, streaming achievements, and concert demand, his presence has consistently generated substantial value across fashion, advertising, digital media, and consumer marketing. Official announcements involving major collaborations have frequently attracted worldwide media coverage, reinforcing perceptions of exceptional commercial credibility. Marketing specialists often describe Jungkook as one of the rare performers capable of influencing multiple industries simultaneously without weakening the authenticity of his artistic identity. This balance has become increasingly valuable within an entertainment environment where audiences often distinguish sharply between genuine artistic expression and purely commercial activity. Nevertheless, financial analysts remind observers that endorsement activity should complement rather than replace evaluations of musical accomplishment. Success at Jungkook's level emerges through the interaction of numerous factors, making simplified explanations increasingly inadequate. Perhaps the most significant aspect of Jungkook's journey involves his transition from group phenomenon to independent global artist. Such transformations have historically presented enormous challenges, even for exceptionally successful performers. Public expectations inevitably become higher, comparisons grow more intense, and every release receives scrutiny extending far beyond ordinary commercial standards. Official industry observations throughout 2026 suggest that Jungkook has navigated this transition with remarkable effectiveness. Rather than attempting to distance himself completely from BTS's extraordinary legacy, he has gradually established an artistic identity capable of standing confidently alongside it. Music historians frequently identify this balance as one of the most difficult accomplishments in modern popular music. Maintaining respect for an iconic group identity while simultaneously constructing an equally compelling solo career requires consistency, patience, and sustained creative direction over many years. Another frequently discussed dimension concerns Jungkook's influence on future generations of performers. Entertainment educators, vocal coaches, producers, and aspiring trainees increasingly reference his work as an example of contemporary performance excellence. While such influence remains difficult to quantify through official statistics, cultural historians argue that inspiring future artists often represents one of the clearest indicators of enduring legacy. Album certifications eventually become historical records, streaming milestones eventually are surpassed, and chart positions inevitably change. However, the artistic standards established by influential performers frequently continue shaping entire industries long after individual commercial achievements have faded from public memory. Various discussions throughout 2026 increasingly suggest that Jungkook may already be entering this stage of influence, though definitive historical conclusions naturally require the passage of time. Positioned at number 1, Jungkook represents a convergence of extraordinary artistic achievement, sustained international popularity, commercial influence, technical excellence, and cultural significance unlike almost any other solo artist in contemporary K-pop. Official records continue documenting remarkable accomplishments, yet even the most comprehensive statistics appear unable to capture the complete scope of his impact. Every streaming milestone, sold-out performance, critical review, international collaboration, and cultural discussion contributes another fragment to a story that continues evolving with each passing year. Perhaps that's why debates surrounding his legacy remain so compelling. The evidence supporting his extraordinary success appears overwhelming, yet history has repeatedly shown that the true significance of transformative artists often becomes fully visible only after their careers have unfolded completely. As the lights fade and the final position in this countdown is revealed, one question quietly remains. Has the world already witnessed the greatest chapter of Jungkook's remarkable solo journey, or will future